Welcome back to the third Saturday in October, your SEC water cooler podcast for the rest of us. By the way, it's for football and basketball for now. We'll see how the spring sports go, but find us online at thirdsaturdayiNoctober.com, on social media at TSIO Pod, and if you want to join our community, you can find us on Venmo at TSIO Pod, support the show, and chat with us in our group chats. I am Bradley. I'm here with the new number one, Jared, my co-caster. Jared, how are you?
Number one basketball team, but number two on the podcast. So we'll stay that way. But yeah, man.
Hey, nothing about this podcast is number two. But yes, we love having you here, Jared, and congrats on.
Yeah, I want to talk basketball, but there is some football chatter to be had. So let's just go ahead with that. And I don't know what your intent was to lead with that. So, but no, was, one or two games that were pretty interesting recently. So
yeah, we had Notre Dame.
Others.
Yeah, we had Notre Dame beating Penn State.
That was a good game
at the very end. That was a great game. Watched it. I actually met a couple buddies and had a couple drinks. Watching the game. I was watching it actually in the window. I had my back to the bar and couldn't see the TV, but watched it. So Notre Dame won in reverse for me, but heck of a game the way it came down. I think so far the two best games in the playoffs were Notre Dame's win over Penn State and Ohio State's win over Texas.
Yeah, those two have been the best games, and I'm sure we'll get into Texas and Ohio State here in a minute. But just to give Notre Dame their due, I mean, what they've done to get to this point is pretty remarkable.
Yeah,
and I'm happy for them. I don't like Notre Dame. I want the record to reflect that, but I will be cheering for them against Ohio State and Notre Dame. No one handed them the wins they've gotten. They've actually had to fight and get those wins. So I have a lot more respect for this Notre Dame team than I've had for Notre Dame in probably ever.
Yeah.
This is a fighting team. So even if they lose to Ohio State, they should be very proud of themselves. They have fought hard, and there's a lot of people that diss Notre Dame, and rightfully so, because they're elite and they're too good for a conference, and they're sometimes their regular season schedule is pitiful, but they've earned these wins in the playoffs, and I'm happy for them. And that was a big win against Penn State, and that told me, okay, these guys deserve to be in this position. So I am happy for them, and I would have loved to have seen Texas be able to pull off the win against Ohio State. You and I were chatting throughout that game, and just Texas, as soon as they'd kind of get where they were like in striking distance, they would shoot themselves in the foot, and they did it multiple times. And the fumble there at the end, that was the dagger, and you couldn't do anything. And then I think he threw another interception after that. So it was just like it just wasn't meant to be. And Ohio State's a really good team.
Really good team.
My prediction is they win the national championship, but I hope I'm wrong. I don't like Ohio State. So,
this storyline was talked about quite a bit. But if you missed it, the guy who caused and recovered the fumble by Ewers was Ewers' roommate when Ewers was at Ohio State. And big fella took it 95 yards or something like that, 90 yards to the house to seal the win. And Texas had two plays, two calls given to them when Ohio State was called for pass interference shortly before that. And I understand that it's a tighter window and all that, but you just had, I can't remember if it was on back-to-back plays. There may have been a play in between, but you're getting pass interference. Ohio State's on their heels, and then you run the ball and lose yardage. I mean, I get it, but I don't, because one thing was kind of working for you.
I can't explain it, and I'd love to hear your take on this. Ewers, in my opinion, hurt his draft stock. I think he has to come back and play another year of college, because if I'm the NFL, I mean, he might be a last rounder, if that. Like, I'm not jumping to grab that dude. That's my opinion. So,
as a Titans fan, we have the number 1 pick overall, and I'm looking at these quarterbacks because we could use a quarterback. Will Levis just isn't going to be the answer going forward, and there's not a quarterback in this class that I feel good about.
For the number 1 pick, man, I don't know that would be the best choice, grabbing a quarterback that's currently in the draft that's going to make a massive impact, a franchise impact. So I think if Tennessee's wise, they might go after another position of need, because, I mean, you can probably find a better quarterback that you trade for, or just get one further down the draft that you supplement or whatever. But that starting franchise quarterback, I'm not convinced that the amount of money you're going to spend on a couple of these guys is going to be worth it. But I might be wrong.
No, I think offensive
Tom Brady would be a big deal, and he was. So
yeah, I mean, offensive line needs a lot of work for the Titans, and it popped up on
top lineman. Yeah. That's a better investment, I think.
Yeah, especially if you trade down and you get a whole bunch of picks.
That's smart.
Yeah. That may be the smartest thing for the Titans. But yeah, I mean, I'm looking at this. I don't know what quarterback I really trust. At least not to be franchise quarterback. But yeah, Ewers didn't help his draft stock. Carson Beck at Georgia did not help his draft stock, and decided to go to Miami. He announced that he was transferring, and shortly thereafter announced that he's transferring to Miami. So that's another one who did not help his draft stock this year. But I mean, I don't know. Ohio State, any and all of their players are proving their worth in this run. Notre Dame as well, because both teams are playing big boy football right now. And big stands on defense, getting what you need when you need it on offense, and it's produced some really good football in the last week, and looking forward to in 6 days on the 20th, College Football National Championship for the second year in a row with no SEC teams in it. And I'm not cheering for Notre Dame, but I am cheering against Ohio State
Absolutely.
For whatever that's worth. It's going to be interesting. Ohio State's just a buzzsaw right now.
Agreed.
So
they, in my opinion, if they were to lose that, somehow Notre Dame were to pull that off, that would be a massive upset. And Ryan Day has had plenty of games in his coaching career where he's been outwitted and outcoached, and he overthought the game. A.k.a. Michigan earlier this season is a good example of that. But Notre Dame, ever since that loss to Northern Illinois, has been a team that has seemed to be dialed in, and they do have some concerns on their offensive line with an injury or two. My opinion is that Ohio State will overcome that, but I would love to see Notre Dame, even though I don't like Notre Dame, I'd love to see them beat Ohio State for the championship. I think that's a good story. And I don't like Notre Dame, so I mean, given the choices, that's what I'm going with. I really don't like Ohio State, but I think they've got it. It's theirs to lose, in my opinion.
Yeah. Rudy comes to mind.
It does. Yeah, as it should.
How many of us love that movie?
All of
And
us.
uh,
I question your your goals in life if you don't. So
yeah, and I'm trying to recall that movie about Ohio State. Oh yeah, it doesn't exist. So you know,
well played.
uh,
That was a good one.
but yeah. So
That was fun.
I don't know. I, I too believe Ohio State has the advantage in this game. But just to be contrarian, I'm going to pick Notre Dame to win
Okay.
because what's the fun? What's the fun when the graphic is all the same? So
Yeah.
uh,
No, you're right.
you're
Absolutely.
you're picking Ohio State. I'll take Notre Dame. And we'll talk
I'm
about it
not
next week.
picking Ohio State. Well, oh no, I am picking Ohio State, but I'm cheering for Notre Dame.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. Absolutely. You got it.
But our hearts have moved on to college basketball.
Yeah, and for all good reasons.
Yeah. And I was last week talking a big game, and then my team decided to go out last Tuesday night and A, forget to get on the plane, and B, forget to how to play basketball altogether, and lost by 30 to.
To a very good Florida team at home. So while that was inexcusable, I'm not beating up your Vols as badly as you are.
No, and 5-point loss, I'd be fine with. 10-point
Yeah,
loss is like, eh.
this was a little bit more than that. Yeah.
Florida is very good.
They are
Florida was
good.
also very angry after losing to Kentucky.
Yeah, losing to Kentucky. Yeah, there was a number of things in the recipe there that could have been bad for Tennessee, and it seemed like they all came to fruition.
Yeah.
So
And
for the
it,
Tennessee basketball fan that's feeling a little bit hurt from this past week, give yourself some grace because
yeah.
I think personally, and you probably agree with me, I'm sure that was the wake up call Tennessee needed.
Yep.
I would be very surprised if you start seeing that again, or even multiple times with this Tennessee team because they are fantastic. They are a top team. They were number one for a reason, and I don't think this is going to that might have been the wake up call. They may have
Yeah.
awoke the sleeping giant, so to speak, and yeah, I wouldn't want to be the teams that play them. The next couple games. So, and
Yeah.
already they've bounced back with that nice win versus Texas. And Texas is a good team.
They
So
they're sneaky good.
yeah, they are sneaky
Um,
good. They're better than people, would or their record may look like they're kind of average, but they're a good team.
yeah.
So especially
They've got a freshman point guard who was playing very, very well Saturday against my Vols, and preseason when you never know how freshmen are going to pan out when they are now playing in these large stadiums that are 16, 18, 20,000 people in very raucous environments against better competition than they've ever seen. And Texas has a great one on their hands. Tennessee struggled for much of the game, but I mean, I've also seen Tennessee do that quite a bit this year. And I hope it doesn't come back to bite us. But I also know that Rick Barnes is the greatest coach Tennessee has had. The only other coach to have Tennessee as a number one basketball team for men's basketball is a man by the name of Bruce Pearl.
Yep.
And he had Tennessee number one for 1 week. And I believe that was like 2008, maybe. I remember defeating, I believe it was number one Memphis. But that man is now at Auburn with a number one team there as well. And Auburn is playing very, very good basketball right now. Would you say so?
Yeah, well, we escaped a road game in Texas. Texas, we had them handled by like 20 plus, and then they came back and got it within single digits. I think they even got it down to 3 and then we had some clutch free throws there at the end to win, and then we had the win against South Carolina, which was also a close win. I think we beat them by 1 point. South Carolina is not, considered a dominant basketball program, but we were playing them at South Carolina. That's just the road. The SEC road is tough.
Yeah.
So Auburn did escape with a victory, but we did, as you pointed out, pre-recording, is our best player and potential player of the year is Janai Broom, and he suffered an ankle injury. We looked into that a little bit right before recording, and it looks like he's only going to miss a game or two, which is good for Auburn. But losing a top player like that has an impact, and I think our team being Auburn is still in a good position to bounce back with that.
Yeah.
Player being down, but it's still a loss. So
Yeah.
These games are never given to you. You have to go out and be dialed in. You have to be a good team to be at the level Tennessee and Auburn are at right now. So this does not in any way predict the end of the season or the SEC championship or even beyond that with the tournament. But my gosh, this is very exciting for Auburn fans, and we have waited for this for a long time, so we're happy.
I mean,
we'll milk it while we can.
Yeah, South Carolina currently ranked last in the SEC, but we're only 3 games in, and South Carolina was 10-3 going into SEC play, and
it's still good. Yeah,
I mean, phenomenal. Yeah. To go in as pretty much bottom of the barrel of the SEC, but only having 3 losses. You've already reached double-digit wins before you start conference play. You've got Auburn at 15-1 overall, Florida at 15-1, Tennessee at 15-1. 3 really good basketball teams. You've got Alabama at 14-2, Ole Miss at 14-2, Georgia, who is in the AP top 25 for the first time since 2011, 14-2, and a lot of 13-3 teams. Kentucky, who lost again, Missouri, Texas A&M, Vanderbilt, and Oklahoma. I mean, this is, as chaotic as football was in the SEC, basketball could be just as chaotic. Because I don't right now, Alabama, Auburn, Ole Miss are the 3 unbeatens in conference play. They're 3-0. It's possible to go undefeated. I don't know that it's happening this year. Not with the way that these teams are evenly stocked.
I agree.
Everybody's got studs, and it is interesting in in basketball, seeing how the transfer portal can be so influential in a basketball team, because one player makes a lot of difference, and it's going to be fun.
Well, so the Vols got what? Mississippi State this week. They got Georgia this week. One's at home. Is that right? No, I'm sorry. You got Georgia and then the Vols. My bad.
Georgia at home, and then
and then the Vols.
Vanderbilt. In Nashville, yeah.
Mine's all over the place. Auburn. I'm sorry, I was looking at Auburn's schedule. Auburn's got Mississippi State this week and Georgia, so which are both top 25 teams as of now. So no cupcakes.
Yeah, and Auburn and Tennessee, a lot of shared opponents here early before our matchup in just a couple weeks,
which is coming up. Yeah, that's at the end of the month on the 25th, January 25th, and that will be at Auburn. So that doesn't mean that Auburn's got locked in, but especially with our best player being out. But that's going to be a fun game to watch. All these games are fun to watch, man. If you're not watching basketball, you need to be. It's good. So.
And right now, you've got in the top 10 Auburn, Alabama, Florida, Tennessee, and Kentucky Also in the top
10. Yeah.
also in the top 25 are A&M, Mississippi State, Ole Miss, and Georgia. So there's a lot of talent, and that's been a lot of the talk so far this year is okay. The SEC didn't do so well in the 12-team college football playoffs, but don't feel too bad because basketball is very loaded in the SEC, and we saw that with the pre-conference schedule games, and just how strong the SEC has been so far. So it is now, how can you sustain that success, and how can you try to avoid serious injury as much as possible between now and both the SEC tournament and the March tournament.
Yeah, and it's a grind. So, what happened to Auburn's player Janai Broom, hurting his ankle? It could have been worse. He doesn't need surgery, thank goodness. So we dodged a bullet on that one. But any of these teams can have one of their best players get hurt at any point. So yeah, it's a grind, man. But I love watching these games. They're so much fun, especially coming off of Auburn football season that was just so bad. So it's a little bit healing to see Auburn, take some names on the court, so to speak. Yeah. So, to flip back temporarily to football, I mean, I'm encouraged with the way the transfer portal has worked for Auburn. We didn't lose many players that we were, super essential. You could argue that maybe we lost one or two that were, future essential, but we didn't lose anybody that's next year essential.
Yeah.
And we picked up some really good folks so far in the portal, and we're already getting, a couple of verbal commitments for the 2026 class. Of course, anything can happen between now and next year, but to me, I'm encouraged with the trend. I'm encouraged to see how Auburn and Will Redmond, who we've talked about on this show, and who you speak highly of, Will Redmond, I think, has been really smart with the approach of what players we've gotten, what money has been spent, and spent wisely, in my opinion, and not frivolously. Not going after a quarterback per se for $4 million like a Miami team. But getting a really good bargain quarterback, a very good quarterback for a lot less than that gave us, money to go get, a top wide receiver and a top, offensive lineman and some of these other, positions that we really need too. So I as an Auburn fan in general, I'm feeling good about basketball. I'm feeling better about, football for next year, because this year was a loss, but you take the losses and hopefully those turn around. I think Auburn's in a position to turn around. So, and then of course, I don't think anybody wants to face Tennessee in basketball, and they certainly shouldn't want to face them in baseball because they're the returning national champions. So
yeah,
baseball's right around the corner. These are the sports that get us back to football, and I appreciate them.
It's been, football and basketball have been pretty easy to follow historically. Thankfully, with the SEC network and the internet, baseball, which is my favorite sport. I love football, but I was just too small to play football by the time I got to high school, and baseball was what I played every summer, all through high school, so it's the sport that I truly love, and so yeah, I'll be watching. So maybe we'll keep talking once that season gets around.
But I don't see any reason not to. I think we're on a good thing here. So,
but I get a good coach, and I love watching college basketball. There were some years that it was really hard for me to watch Tennessee basketball, but I'll tell you, Bruce Pearl made me pay attention to Tennessee basketball, and when we got Rick Barnes, I knowing the coach that he was at Texas, I was instantly drawn back in and have been hooked ever since on Tennessee basketball. I mean, it's and it's hard at Tennessee because you have this legendary women's program that has overshadowed the men's program for a long, long time. Thank you, Pat Summitt. Who would
probably the greatest of all time.
Yeah, who would bring her women's team in to scrimmage the guys. Like, that happened regularly. And from what I understand, sometimes her teams even beat the men's teams regularly.
Yeah.
So,
Well said.
So yeah,
can I get a little love to some of the top basketball players in the SEC so far this season? I know we've mentioned a couple players here and there from Auburn and Tennessee, but there's some studs that are playing this season, and I just thought it'd be nice to recognize a couple of them. So
absolutely,
a couple to keep an eye on is, as much as this pains me, is a guy at Alabama. He's a guard, Mark Sears. This guy, he's really playing well. He's basically shooting, like 44% from 3-point range. You got Wade Taylor the fourth. He's a guard at Texas A&M. Keep an eye on him. He's on track to surpass 2,000 career points. Of course, we mentioned Janai Broome from Auburn and Zakai Ziegler from Tennessee. Colin Murray Boyles, he's South Carolina. Maybe the lowest in the SEC. But this freshman is I think the guy you were talking about earlier. He's superstar. Oh, you're talking about a freshman from Texas. Sorry.
Yeah, Trey Johnson's the one.
Yeah, Trey Johnson. Yeah, but Colin is South Carolina. Or Murray Boyles. He's a freshman for South Carolina. That's just. He's just a stud. So we mentioned some other players to keep an eye on is Janelle Davis from Arkansas, Walter Clayton Jr. from Florida, who at Tennessee is going to remember him, and then Josh Hubbard from Mississippi State. So there's some guys, there's some dudes out there, man. These guys are fun to watch.
Absolutely,
might not be fun to watch against your team, but just a little shout out to some guys that are really dominating this year so far. So good for them.
Yeah, it's. And like I said, that one guy can make a big difference, whether it's scoring points, making blocks, getting fouls. You get a star player in foul trouble early, and it can spell disaster. It almost did for Tennessee a couple times. Against Illinois was one. There was another game, and I'm blanking on which one it was. Guys getting in foul trouble, and Tennessee had to hang on at the very end. But there's some guys that in the SEC particularly, every night your team is going up against somebody who has the potential to be a big difference maker, not just at this level, but potentially the next as well. And that's what makes it so exciting is every night something's going to happen, whether it's a blowout by Florida over Tennessee or somebody gets hot and makes the other team really have to work for it. I love it.
You're right.
Absolutely love it.
That's why it's so fun to watch. So you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
So Notre Dame and Ohio State. Coming soon. We're gonna see a new champion.
Yep.
A coach that has not won a championship is going to win one. 2 years in a row of SEC not being in it, that disturbs me, Bradley.
Yeah. Go if you haven't seen it. If you haven't seen it, go watch the SEC shorts. It was quite humorous. Again, this week. Focusing on Tennessee, Georgia, and Texas, the three teams from the SEC in the college football playoffs, and what they need to do to get better in the future. It classic. I can't say enough good things about SEC shorts.
Got to watch me some SEC shorts. And since we mentioned Notre Dame and Ohio State, I just want to say there are a couple quarterbacks. There's a couple players who have played in the SEC, they're going to be in this game. So
Yeah.
I'm just going to give a quick shout out. So we got Quinshon Judkins, who's a running back for Ohio State. He transferred from Ole Miss. So there's an SEC stud that we can. I can't cheer for him because it's Ohio State, but I can, silently be proud of him if he does well. I got Caleb Down, who's a safety. He transferred from Alabama to Ohio State. So there's a couple of SEC guys that are going to be in that game. You got to keep an eye on. So.
Yeah. Oh, I'll tell you somebody who's helped his stock, Will Howard with Ohio State.
Will Howard, no, he played at Kansas State before. He's not an SEC guy, but dude, that guy is, he's earning some fast money soon. So, and rightfully so. Yeah.
He came in because this was a talk as they were matching up against Tennessee. Will Howard's just a game manager, and has he proved every single person who said that wrong?
Oh, he's dominating. In
these last 3 games.
He's a stud.
I'm
not suggesting that your Titans take him in the draft unless they get it at a deal at a lower round. But definitely got to keep an eye on. His stock is gone up for sure. So
yeah. So one more week of college football. One more week to talk about it, and then we will fully embrace the college basketball podcast that is the third Saturday in October.
Hallelujah. Should we make it the third Saturday in March or something? Or no, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
Or give it a slight rebranding. Keep it as the TSIO pod, but just maybe have a little subtitle for basketball or something.
Yeah. We'll have to work on that because
maybe we can get some responses from the listeners. Maybe they have a subtitle they'd like to throw in the hat.
Yeah, let us know.
And a coffee donation via Venmo.
Absolutely. And you can reach us pretty easily. Podcast at thirdsaturdayiNoctober.com. Find us online at thirdsaturdayiNoctober.com, on social media. Just slide into our DMs. Do people still say that?
The kids say a lot of things like skibbity, and I don't know what most of them mean. So if they don't say it, they should, and I knew what you meant. So
the skibbity bibbity bobbity boutique.
Yeah, you can just send us a skibbity message, and
no cap.
I have a response for that. Sorry, no cap. That's the right response. So
I've got no idea what I'm saying, but yeah, you can find us on social media at TSIO Pod.
No cap. I'm wearing my Auburn cap. What are we talking about?
Hey, I'm no cap right now.
You're no cap for real.
Yeah.
You're in life and in fashion. So well played.
Yeah. Like Jared said, you want to send us a cup of coffee? Find us at TSIO Pod on Venmo as well. Jared, basketball season hadn't disappointed yet. Football season, it has disappointed, but that's just because there's no
Tennessee
SEC
beat
team.
Alabama, so there's always that.
That's a good year in my book.
I think so. Tennessee fans made the playoffs. They beat Alabama. Come on, and you potentially lost to the team that's likely going to win it. So if Ohio State wins the national championship, Tennessee fans cannot be too disheartened. They lost to the eventual champion, right? So
and seeing what they did to Oregon.
Yeah, they whooped on Oregon. Oregon was undefeated. So
yeah, I don't feel bad at all.
You shouldn't.
Yeah, beat Florida, beat Alabama, make it to the playoffs.
Absolutely, that is a good year. Be thankful, be proud. Yep.
With a freshman quarterback, a redshirt freshman quarterback. Amen. So there's room to grow.
And you guys are still representing in recruiting, representing in the portal. You're not having any massive losses that you can't recover from that I can tell.
Yeah,
I feel like you guys are definitely in a good position moving forward, and that's a good thing for Tennessee fans. Good thing for the SEC.
I do feel good about my volunteer sports just in general right now. So with that, I'm gonna say roll Vols right into basketball season.
And I'm gonna say number 1 War Eagle, go Auburn. So
attaboy.
Tailgate, man cave, living room, breeze. chip and dip. Pre-game, Scotch and a lot of IPA. Coca-Cola, pre-game, slaying darts, EA, cornhole, pre-game. How you gonna watch